Hello everyone, I'm Brian, welcome back. Let's go ahead and continue.
So just to follow up on that. So, so as you said, the summary
But
would,
if it's a local girl, it's okay, you can go passion.
no, as the summary of that will be that we choose to learn those things that we think value in it, not those that transform them, correct? So how do you suggest that one can expand his or her horizon to see beyond that what's her or his logic tells to do it and not to do it, basically?
See, of course, human beings will act according to their individual intelligence. That is a given, isn't it? You cannot do the same things that I do, or I cannot do the same things that you do. This is the nature of life, this is the nature of human intelligence. But why is it that we are seeing the same situation differently? Is probably because we have evolved different types of mindsets. But if you don't have a set mind, that is, your brain is not a concrete block, it is willing to take any form that's needed, then I believe if we look at this situation, both of us will see it as it is. If we see this situation, whatever the situation, as it is, we'll be seeing it the same way, isn't it? If you hold your opinion above your perception, then you will see it differently. If I hold my learning and my mindset above my perception of things or the reality of what is there, then I will see it differently. Then of course, we will fight. But that is what I'm saying. Why are you approaching with a set mind? You are approaching with a set mind because you are giving too much significance to the information that you have gathered. Information is not intelligence. It is human intelligence that is needed to transform situations. Information, what is very valuable today, tomorrow it may be trash, isn't it? Because you're talking about change. When situations change, the information that you have, which you thought is very valuable, becomes trash or no?
So,
Real quick, I thought of this, but I'm not sure. I was hoping he would maybe elaborate that a little bit. But I think about when he's saying, look at the situation with a non-concrete mind. I also think that means, and it's something he didn't say, but I also think it probably implies your emotions as well, with a blank emotion. Because I think having an attachment emotion would also have a set mind. So, and I think that's what's a lot of the causes, is that there are people out there who are emotionally attached to things, and so therefore their mind is set. I'm wondering if emotions is what's the only thing yeah, the only thing that's causing people to be attached to things. For example, if I create something and I'm emotionally attached to it, then I'm gonna argue for it because it's something I created, especially emotionally. Now, if I have no emotional attachment to it, then I'm very open to suggestions or changes or anything like that. And I'm wondering, is emotion the only only thing causing us to be attached to things?
following up on that question. So, in working towards our ambitions, we sometimes forget to enjoy the present, experience life as it is, and we strive towards making the beautiful future. Now, how do you recommend that we think about balancing the two? That is, enjoying the present versus working towards the future?
I thought so.
See, there is no such thing as future. It's just a plan in your head. Such a thing doesn't exist anywhere in the universe. Is it so? Hello? It doesn't exist anywhere. In your experience, there's only what is here now. What is right now, here and now, is all that is there in your experience. It's all that's ever been. So, there are two very important faculties which are unique to human beings compared to every other creature on this planet. We have two faculties which are very unique to us, which is a very vivid sense of memory. Because of this vivid sense of memory, we have a fantastic capability to imagine. If you did not have memory, would you be able to imagine? So right now, traveling from memory to imagination means you're traveling from past to future, completely bypassing your experience of life. Right now, what is it that human beings are suffering? The various levels of suffering people are going through. It even happens in the university, I know. Those really… you are in the most insulated atmosphere, even here people suffer immensely, I know that. See, they are not suffering life. They are essentially suffering their own memory and imagination. Hello? Because people can suffer, what happened 10 years ago, they still suffer. What may happen day after tomorrow, they already suffer. So is this life or is this suffering of memory and imagination? You are just suffering your memory and imagination. You haven't even touched life. This is the unfortunate consequence of learning.
I wish you would, like, that's a really good way of explaining to people, but I wish you'd also probably refine that a little bit, just because, obviously a lot of people who don't follow Sadhguru, thinking like, oh, memory, imagination. No, these are things that can happen, but it's sometimes it can be difficult to link those things together, as things in the past are memory, things in the future are imagination. It's like, no, it's not my imagination. This bill says it's due 2 weeks from now. If I don't pay it, it's going to happen. So it's not imagination; it's reality. But but I guess it's more along the lines of things that are not pre-planned ahead of time. So obviously, when you have due dates, that's real. There's no imagining that. That is 100% real. If you don't pay on that day, something's going to happen. Either your lights cut off, or you're going to get fine. And things in the past, it is memory for sure. And I like the fact that it says we suffer something that's 10 years ago. I think that's pretty good. I wonder if there's any way to refine that a little bit better to make it a little bit more understandable for a much broader audience. Like, even that explanation is really, really good. I just don't know if there's a way to better explain it. Perhaps giving a great example, like imagine something you did in your past that you regret today. And I think that might be a better way of explaining it. So you regret it today. So that's something that happens in the past. It has nothing to do with you now, but yet you are suffering from it because you're regretting it. The future imagination. I guess a great example would be like, you're studying for an exam. You're like, oh my gosh, you have a test coming up tomorrow. And you're studying really hard. And you're like, oh my gosh, I might fail it or whatever. I might not do great. And all of a sudden you pass it. It's like, well, you suffered for for something that you passed anyway. Or even if you fail, it's like, well, you were suffering prior to you failing it. Now that you failed it, now it's the right time to suffer for it. You suffered for 12 hours. You could have just suffered for that 1 hour. I don't know,
That you don't know how to keep your memory in your memory chip and keep yourself free from that. You carry your scholarship on your head, this is what happens to you, because you are living in memory. The whole value of your life is because of the memory that you carry, isn't it so? See, when you say, I'm educated, what does it mean? That means the whole value of your life is in just the memory that you carry. I'm telling you, in the next 5 years, this will be ridiculous. You must change before that. Those who change ahead of the times to come are the pioneers of the time, isn't it so? Those who change after change has happened are the leftovers. Don't be a leftover, you must be ahead. The simple thing is just this, well, we acquire some knowledge about how to do this, how to do that, it's useful. You have lot of phone numbers on your phone. So at least now, there was a time when I used to remember at least around 800 numbers and names because I didn't have a phone book and there was no cell phone. Just by memory we used to remember. It was very valuable, very valuable. Now it's just trash. I don't even know my number anymore. Really.
I think I said this before in a previous video, but it's something that my coworker said, and it was remarkable. It says, "Dumb phones make us smart, and smartphone makes us dumb." And the reason why being is because dumb phones used to be, well, I guess you could store people's numbers, but you would remember the old phones. We had to do this, where you didn't have an address book. You had to remember everyone's number. I used to remember my number and like a few other numbers by heart. Now smartphones, you just plug the thing in, you don't have to remember it all. So now we lack the memory of remembering people's numbers. I remember my number. I remember my work's number. I remember numbers that I have to tell people. It's like, oh, I just call this number back, I remember those numbers, which are not important, but important for my job. But any other number, I don't know. So that's the smartphone making us dumb. And then I was gonna say multiplication and stuff, but maybe not so much on that one.
People ask me, Sadhguru, what's your number? I really don't know. Because it doesn't matter anymore, because the machine does the damn thing, isn't it? You don't have to remember your own number, it is all there. So I'm saying, you do not make yourself who you are because of what you remember. This means you are a creature of the ancient times. The ancient may mean 2 years ago or 2000 years ago, it doesn't matter. You belong to a place which is dead. You become part of the dead. Now future imagination and your expectations means you are trying to raise the dead. Don't try that. Shall I? You okay for a joke or?
Okay, I mean that's a really good example that he said there, especially about the smartphone. That is perfect, honestly, in terms of the fact that saying that people who are very intelligent usually just have great memory. And don't get me wrong, great memory is really good, but I guess you're able to recollect things, and for the time being, that's honestly still good. Until a machine is capable of, doing all these things, like, instantly, instead of you have to typing it all in, especially trying to type in the right question to ask, like, now, how do I ask this question so that I get the right answer instead of like 500 million other things that I don't need right now? It's like they're all related to the question, but not quite the answer I'm looking for. Because that's the thing now, is trying to find the right way to ask the question so you get the right information.
They are becoming very serious, that's what I'm afraid. The first consequence of scholarship is you become serious, not just serious, dead serious. This happened. An old couple were watching an evangelical program on the television. The preacher was going full on and he was promising he's going to heal them and all that stuff. So over the television he's going to heal them. He said, place your hands wherever you have problem in your body, I will heal right now. So the lady put her hand on her throat and sat, because she had a thyroid issue. The man looked at her and then put his hands upon his groin and sat. She looked at him and said, John, he only said he will heal the sick, he did not say he will raise the dead. So what you think is your future is just you're trying to raise the dead. From what you know, you're trying to create a future. Don't do that. Because future is the next step. The next step is available to you only if you take this step properly, isn't it so? Hello? Yeah. Do one thing, you skip this breath and take the next breath, let me see. Try and see what will happen to you. This will be the last breath you will take, isn't it? How can you take the next step without taking this step properly? It is the entertainment of the vain to go on thinking what kind of future, what kind of future. No, how well you conduct the present, future is a consequence. This whole problem has happened to education systems, they've all become goal-oriented. I see particularly, I'm sorry, but particularly in management schools, they've become very goal-oriented. What goal-orientedness means is, your learned professor was saying about his mother talking about a mango tree. See, you don't have to sit there and do mango meditation for mangoes to come. You just handle the daily process of watering the mango tree, manuring it, taking care of it.
I'll say, and this is the thing that I was going to say before I paused it, or I was going to pause it a little bit earlier. There is a thing between the future and the present. There is still a connection there that needs to happen, and it's a plan, and it's I guess the point is not to be so structured in it that it's something that you are unable to modify. A very strict plan. So kind of like the mango tree. Well, if you don't plant the mango tree in the right conditions, it's not going to grow. So you have to make sure that you take the necessary steps. So you're planning to say, I need to make sure it has this, this, and this, so the mango tree can grow. Even when you do that, if you don't water it, sometimes there's enough rain, there's enough water, but if there's not enough of that, then the mango tree is not going to grow because it's not the right condition. So again, you have to plan to make sure that it's like, okay, the forecast says it's going to rain these days, so I don't have to water these days. Maybe in the fifth day, I take I put something in the soil to measure the water contents to make sure there's enough water in the soil. If not, I'm going to have to add water. There's a lot of still pre-planning going on for the future, because you don't want to just necessarily sit there and wait for that day to occur to then all of a sudden make decisions when you can kind of pre-plan a lot of this stuff to make it easier in your life. So there's still the future and the present still needs to be kind of linked in a sense. I'm making up words there, but in the sense that you still have to pre-plan the future, but I guess it's not to be stringent, to be so concrete that things cannot change. And that's, I guess, goes back to what he's saying about the concrete brain, where it's everything so strict that there's no change involved. There's nothing that can be done to change the plans, and you need to be a bit more fluid. You can still have the plans, but to be fluid with it, because kind of like say, oh, I need to water in the fifth day. All of a sudden it rains in the fourth day. It's like, well, I still got to water it, even though it's like a pool on the ground there. You still apply water to it. So it's a bit of a weird example, but I guess that's a decent one to say. It's like you don't want to water in the fifth day. If it downpoured on the fourth day, or it has plenty of water.
You never thought mango. Mango will anyway fall on your head, isn't it? It's a consequence. Instead of handling the process, you're trying to handle the consequence. We have a business event every November 3rd week, and over 200 CEOs from across the world come to train for 4 days with us and all that. So last time when they were there, they were asking me, they're running major companies in the world. They're asking me, Sadhguru, we pick the best people in the world. From the management schools, when we identify that they're doing well in the first year, second year itself, we pick them. From IIMs, IITs across the world, we always resourcing them. And we constantly keep not just a bone, a meat hanging in front of them. In spite of that, our organizations don't run as smoothly as yours. And we know you're a slave driver. That is, it is a volunteer organization, nobody's paid for the job, nobody's trained for the job, I get only dropouts. So, they said, how is it that everything is running like a seamlessly smooth machine out here? Not small operations. Over 9 million volunteers across the world, variety of activity happening. Nothing ever fails. It just goes on properly. How is this? I told them, see, this is all it is. Your problem is, you have set a goal. Your one eye is on the goal, so you have only one eye to find your way. Very inefficient. Here I have inculcated in everybody, they are devoted to the process of what they're doing right now. They don't care, they don't even know where it'll go. They are just absolutely devoted to what they're doing right now. Well, somebody else is directing it. It will go where it has to go. If we don't do what we're doing right now really well, where I want to go is just hallucination, isn't it? So don't think this hallucination is a making of the future. If my blessing for all of you is, may your dreams not come true. Because what can you dream of right now? Only exaggerating what you already know, isn't it so? Hello? Can you dream of something that you do not know? Only what you already know, you exaggerate it a little bit and think, This is my dream. My blessing is, let your dreams not come true. Let your life be about something that you could never dream of.
So in speaking of this, how does one truly find their values and then eventually stick by their values, or should they even be sticking by those values that they find throughout their life?
Values meaning?
It could be anything. It's things that you believe to be true. It could be guiding forces. It could be any of those.
Morals.
Could be.
See, for me, my existence… I'm sorry, it looks like I'm contradicting everything. I have no morality. I'm on camera, see? I have no morality. My integrity is a consequence of my humanity, not my morality. People who thought they are morally correct, they have done the most horrendous things on this planet. Yes or no? Please tell me. Because of you thinking what is correct, not just to somebody, even to your own children you've done terrible things. Yes, it is true. Parents, teachers, elders, priests, pundits, they have done terrible things to people simply because they think they have a moral righteousness. Yes or no? Why is it morality has become important? Because you put your humanity to sleep. If your humanity is on, what does humanity mean? It's just this. Do you know in your brain there is something called as a reptilian brain? It is the size of your fist, or maybe it's the size of a crocodile's brain, that kind of brain you have. And there is also cerebral cortex, which is what makes you human, which is what gives you various sense of being something different from other creatures. What this humanity means is, these days probably you're not seeing this because dogs are all leashed. But if you leave the dogs around, you will see they will go about peeing all over the place. Not because he has some urinary issue. He is building a pea kingdom. Because his entire existence is about a boundary. Always he's thinking about his territory, his boundary. So those men and women who are operating from that part of their intelligence are always thinking of boundaries. But essentially to be human means you move to the other dimension of intelligence where it is always looking at how to break all the boundaries. Fundamentally you look at yourself and see, no matter where you are, you want to be something more, isn't it so? Hello? If that something more happens right now, what? Something more. We can go on like this. So how much more do you believe will settle you for good? If I make you the king of this planet, will you be fulfilled? Don't look at me hopefully, I will not cause… I will not commit such a blunder. If you become the king of this planet, will you settle for good? No, you will look at the stars. You would want the solar system, you want the galaxy, you want the Milky Way. Yes or no? Because there is something within you. This is only instilled in a human being, I want you to understand this. This is essentially a human quality that you want to expand limitlessly. Maybe right now you're approaching it in a constipated way, which is called as ambition. Ambition means you're approaching, you're longing to become limitless in a constipated manner. You know what's constipation? It happens little by little. So this is what ambition is. Why do you have an ambition? You don't need it. What you need is an active, dynamic intelligence and an active, dynamic body which supports that, and you have understood your experience of life is always created from within you. If you know and you are creating the nature of your experience, would you keep it miserable or blissful? What's your choice for yourself? No, what you want for a neighbor may be debatable. What you want for yourself is 100% clear You want it to be in the highest level of pleasantness, yes or no? For yourself. So if you are joyful right now and you're alert and dynamic in your intelligence and active in your body, what will you do? What will you do? You will work for some silly idea in your head, or will you work for something that's absolutely needed? Because you will perceive life as it is. Right now, you may call it ambition, you may call it passion, you may call it desire. All you're trying to do is squeeze a little bit of juice out of this planet. That's all. You're trying to somehow find some satisfaction, fulfillment, joy, love from the world. I'm telling you, please pay enough attention to yourself and see, if you want joy, if you want fulfillment, if you want peace, if you want love, if you want ecstasy, it can only happen from within you. Yes or no? If this one thing you settle, world, each one of us will deal with it to the best of our ability, but this is the fundamental ability of the human being, that we long to breach all boundaries. If you are some other creature, always you want to set up boundaries. If you sit here and if you have no sense of boundary of this is my friend, this is my enemy, this is a stranger, this is an unknown person, this is my family, if you do not have such things, if you looked at everybody in an inclusive way, because your boundary is not here, it's limitless or no boundary. If you looked at these people and acted according to your intelligence, would you do something wonderful? Hello? This is your humanity. Your humanity cannot be caged. Your animal nature can be caged. We have evolved over 1,000,000 years, but evolution still is by choice. You can either take a backward step or a forward step. If you take a forward step in your evolution right now, that you understand what this is longing for is to become limitless, not to become rich, not to become powerful, not to own something or something. You want to be limitless because these are the boundaries. So do you want to enhance it in increments? Do you want to go in installments towards the infinite expansion that naturally this life is seeking? You think in installments you can get to infinity? You think it's possible? No. So, how do we do it? At least you must look at it. I don't want to go into that aspect right now, but at least you must look at it, because if you fulfill your ambition, your life will not be fulfilled. Only because you take a lifetime to fulfill it, it is so. Whatever your ambition is, suppose by today evening I will manifest it for you, will you live with total fulfillment for the rest of your life? What you want in next 50 years, I will have it done for you by today evening. Will you live joyfully, peacefully, absolute fulfillment? Will you do it for me? No. So it's not going to work anyway. So only thing is, only if you fail it works. It's a wrong way to wire yourself. Only if a simple thing that you want takes 50 years to get there, then it works. But if it happens tomorrow morning, it'll be a disaster, isn't it? So now you're talking about change at a rapid pace. So what your ambition is, if it looks silly tomorrow morning, what do? You already invested in that direction, you can't change. So it's best you don't have an ambition, you don't have a passion for anything, but you're capable of doing everything passionately. Whatever is needed, you're capable of doing it joyfully and passionately. That's what makes a human being who he or she is.
Real quick with that one, and also I'm gonna pause right here too. It's interesting, I mean, it seems very contradictory, the fact that he says don't have an ambition or passion, yet you can do things passionately and… well, I don't know about ambitiously, but I guess it's… excuse me, it's more along the lines of the attachment aspect of it, I suppose, at least for me. I don't see an issue with goals and stuff, it's just not the attachment aspect of it. I mean, and then whenever it says you want to be this and that, or what is it, infinite or anything, or your goals to be met, it's like I didn't really care for that. I mean, as things come along, as I want things, as I need things, I'll take care of it as it comes. You know, I guess. Am I living day by day? Kinda, not really. I do still plan for the future, but I understand that it is You know, not something that's real at the moment, but it is something that you can plan out in some degrees. It's just not to be attached to the what you're planning. For me, things that I want for the future is still how do you say, very fluid, as in it's not concrete. It like obviously I'd love it for it to happen today, but I know it won't, and I don't know if it'll even happen in the future, no matter how long I try. But it's still there. I don't suffer from it, and if I accomplish it, that'll be great. If I don't, then well, I don't. I mean, again, the point is not to be attached to it and not to suffer from it. I guess, let me say it this way: not to suffer from it. I mean, if you get attached to it, then you're going to suffer from it if it doesn't come to what you wish it to be. So the most important thing is not to suffer from it. If you can be attached to it and not suffer from it, that'd be kind of weird, but I mean, good on you if you can do that. So what I mean by attached to it is that you can be passionate about it, but then when it doesn't pan out to what you want it to be, then not to suffer from the end results of it. And I guess that's something that I've kind of learned from Advaita Vedanta as well as with Sadhguru a little bit, due to the fact that it is the attachment aspect of it. And I think that's the only thing, really. Do we suffer from just attachments and that's it? Because is the ego attachment as well? I mean, in terms of Swami Sarvarpiananda, the ego, or in Sadhguru, the ego has attachments to identity. So I guess perhaps the biggest thing is attachments, I believe. I don't know if there's anything deeper than that. You know, if you're attached to your ego, which is your identities, then yeah, you're going to suffer. If you're attached to any kind of materialistic thing, then you're going to suffer when you lose it. I guess same thing with your ego. Trying to think, if you lose your identity, you're going to suffer from it. I don't think it's necessarily losing of identity, but to deny the identity. So if you have an identity and someone denies your identity, then you will suffer from that because you want people to acknowledge your identity, whether that's an intellectual person or whatever it may be. And then with, of course, materialistic things, if you lose it, it is an attachment to something that you've cared about. I do have some things that I am attached to that I keep that I hope I never lose. Maybe 3 things. 4 maybe at most. I think I'm looking at right now, but I value those things and I hope I don't lose them. And do I have attachment to them? Kinda. I don't think about it all the time, but I do have attachment to them. Am I then not enlightened because of that? Perhaps. But I don't really care. I mean, it's really weird to say you don't care about enlightenment, but I think the fact that if you care about it, then there's an attachment to it. So it's kind of contradictory, isn't it, to say that you want enlightenment, but that want is attachment. So you cannot want enlightenment. It's really, it's kind of weird. It's like, enlightenment, nah. But that is true. When you want something, there's an attachment to it. So again, seems contradictory, kind of like what Sadhguru's doing over here. Anyways, that's my reaction to at least part 2 of Sadhguru at the University of Michigan and Ross Building Schools. Ross Business Schools, not building. Anyways, if you like my content, please consider subscribing, thumbs up, the sign down below. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video.